Ukatoa. That's right, today on FraudOnTheTele, we're breaking down everything that happened in The Return of the Mighty Nein, where our group of heroes return to finally deal with that dastardly sea serpent, the great Leviathan, Ukatoa. As always, if you enjoyed the video, learn something new, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Don't forget to hit that tiny bell so my videos go directly into your feed, as well as check out some of our other Critical Role content, like our video breaking down everything we know about the great Leviathan, Ukatoa. Let's get right into the video, shall we? The Mighty Nein have returned, and wow, what an emotional moment. I didn't think that I was going to get hit with that nostalgia drug as hard as it did, but hey, I guess that just goes to show you, nostalgia is a hell of a drug. Our episode begins with like an hour prologue where we get to see just what our characters have been up to in the last 6 months. Because like we said in our prediction video, which by the way, we got a lot of predictions right. If you went and watched that video, you'd be aptly prepared for this special. But it's been about 6 months since the end of Campaign 2 at our story, and our cast, the group of the Mighty Nein, has dispersed, handling some of their own affairs. Caleb is in Rexingtrim flirting with a teaching job at the Cerberus Assembly Solstice Academy. His prologue scene, in my opinion, was like the best one out of all of them. His little speech, mini lecture that he did, that he scripted, was just absolutely awesome. I love it. I miss Caleb so much. Caleb is probably Liam's best character, in my opinion, so it was awesome getting to see our sad boy wizard again. Veth is in Nicodronis setting up her adventurers camp for young kids. Bo and Yash are in Zadash living their best life together, while Ford, Jester, and Kingsley, aka Molly, aka Lucian, are all on the Nine's heroes, not the ball eater, the Nine's hero, out at sea. I had a suspicion that Taliesin might play Kingsley in this game, but I wasn't exactly sure because we just didn't know how long after Campaign 2 this was going to take place. But to me, it makes sense that he would play Kingsley here. We know Kingsley is adventuring with Ford in Jester as he becomes a sailor and eventually gets his own boat. And we know that Caduceus' story is basically wrapped up as he's with his family now. I know that disappointed a lot of people because Caduceus is a favorite from a lot of the fan base. But I think it's cool to get to see Kingsley, Molly, again, kind of in this new character form, this blank slate, and we get to see high-level Blood Hunter shenanigans, so I'm down with that. So as we predicted, this miniseries is a setup to deal with the Ukatoa arc, as it was unfinished from Campaign 2, kind of a story plot point that just kind of dropped, unfortunately, and it was something that I really wished would have been the eventual finale of Campaign 2, as it really does have kind of world-ending, potentially, repercussions, and I think it would have made for a huge, great finale. But here we are in this two-part special. After an hour prologue, it finally kicks off as the intro rolls. We got new character art as well as a new intro animation for this. Very cool. We return out to sea with Ford, Jester, and Kingsley. A storm is approaching, and a natural storm that we learn is created by Ukatoa. This was very spooky as the group begin to see a strange shape in these large waves as the party on the ship find themselves in the middle of a battle as they're attacked by a huge, massive store giant in some really, really Attack on Titan-y vibes. As well as what we learn are, I believe, 7 deep scions, these creatures who have dedicated their lives for power to Ukatoa. Now, this combat was interesting. It looks like Matt kind of designed it as the hook for our story here. As we know, Ford has the last Cloven Crystal, the key to the seal that would release Ukatoa, and for some reason he's been carrying it around with him with no protection, really. Not very smart for you there, Ford. This combat I do think was potentially winnable. They do have an escape out, but we really just don't know what the stats were on this sea storm giant, as it is massive, as well as the scions, but Jester takes a ton of damage early. In classic Jester fashion, she casts inflict wounds instead of healing, eventually going unconscious, Ford saving her, but he has to relinquish the Cloven Crystal basically in order to save himself and his crew as they manage to make their way to a nearby island after their ship was sunk by the Giant. Now, if you watch my prediction video, I predicted that something like this was happen. Ford basically has to lose the Cloven Crystal, or he himself would have had to choose to release Uk'otoa for this whole drama to unfold, as I guarantee you Uk'otoa will be released in part 2 of this special. But we needed a big cataclysmic event to get the Mighty Nein to rejoin, and rejoin they do, as messages go out, and Caleb basically rounds up the rest of the group, teleporting them together. We finally get the return of the Mighty Nein after well over a year since campaign 2 ended, and like we said, it's been super nostalgic. It really felt like Marisha and Liam were kind of the easiest ones to jump back into their campaign 2 characters, probably closely with Jester, with Laura, and maybe Travis and Ford. It did feel, though, like Ford still has a lot of his confidence issues, and I don't really like when Ford, as the captain, is like the butt of the jokes, especially at this point when they're level 17. The band are back together, and they managed to piece together where the last seal keeping Uk'otoa chained up is. It is in some decrepit, destroyed temple on a strange island, but it seems like their adversaries are already there beating them, but they managed to catch up, setting an ambush in this strange temple that seems to house the seal. A temple most likely to Zahir, one of the betrayer gods, which was the creator of Uk'otoa, and this temple was destroyed by followers of Uk'otoa, if I'm remembering correctly, and I'm pretty sure that's what this is. And yeah, that's where our episode ends before this eventual standoff, it looks like, with the Storm Giant and the Deep Sea Scions, but it seems most likely that Uk'otoa will be released next episode. It's unfortunate that they're not putting out this episode during Thanksgiving, and we have to wait, what, 2 weeks to get part 2 of this special, especially when we know they're pre-recording it. Don't know exactly why they're doing that, but hey, they're gonna do what they're gonna do. There's been a lot of breaks over Critical Role in the last year and a half, a lot of time off, and it's frustrating. Not saying these people don't deserve time off, but when it's pre-recorded, it is a little frustrating when it feels like we can't get consistent episodes. Like we said, part 2 of this special is over 5 hours long, so it seems almost inevitable that Uk'otoa will be released, and there will be this great final standoff with Uk'otoa, as what the heck could happen in 5 hours. It's a little frustrating because, like I said, I wish that this Uk'otoa arc was the natural ending for Campaign 2. We talked about this in several of our other videos preparing us for this special reunion, but Uk'otoa is linked and has a pact with 2 other minor idols in Exandria, both that are trapped. One being Deseret, Asmodeus' phoenix, and the other one being, I believe it's Quadrath, a great toothy worm, which is under the ice in Isocross. If these 3 lesser idols all got released, it would mean absolute chaos for Exandria, and I would have loved to see a potential ending to Campaign 2 where this was the case. We had a kind of cataclysmic-esque mini calamity to account for, but it doesn't seem like that's obviously where they're going, because there's no way they could do all of that in just 5 hours. So it's likely Uk'otoa will be released, and then there will be a great big standoff against Uk'otoa. It's fun to have the Mighty Nein back. Man, the nostalgia was high, but it's a little frustrating how predictable in many essences this kind of special is. Now, Matt could surprise us, and there could be twists and turns, and God, I hope there are twists and turns, because I don't like being able to predict everything that's going to happen. I saw a lot of people complaining about kind of the intro setup for this whole special, the fact that Ford hands over the Cloven Crystal to save basically his crew and his friends on the boat. People felt like this was a little too hard scripted, and I get why they're thinking that, but unfortunately this is just how it had to be in order to set up, you know, this this problem, the release of Uk'otoa. The crystal had to be taken from Ford somehow, whether it was off camera, on camera, and this does feel like one of the best ways to do it. There was a good chance that people were gonna die if Ford didn't do this. At the very least, his entire crew was going to die, and Ford is honorable enough to not allow that to happen. So I think it makes sense in character. Same way it makes sense that Jester gets knocked out from being too aggro, because she's a healer, guys. She do be a healer. I don't know, mixed feelings. I was really excited about the return to Campaign 2, especially because I really enjoy the Uk'otoa arc and Ford's story and many of these characters from Campaign 2. As you know, if you watch the entirety of Campaign 2, it's really hard to not have these characters grow on you if you watch their journey and how they eventually became this happy little family. Personally, it's been really cool to get like 4 or 5 of this special episodes, kind of EXU Calamity-esque, but that's probably too much to ask for. With Critical Role, a lot of times you just got to be happy with what they give us because it's good, but I couldn't help but feel at times like, man, how much am I really enjoying this? Is this nostalgia talking, or was this really good, or was it what I expected it to be? I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer with the return to Campaign 2. It was good. I enjoyed the nostalgia of it. It's fun seeing our characters back together, as many of these characters are some of my favorites that the cast have. I'm not gonna lie though, it did feel a little weird. It felt like after the whole fight scene on the boat, like the episode really kind of just dropped off, as it was obvious they weren't going to get into too much action because this was kind of the setup episode. So it feels like, I mean, really, after you watch that fight scene on the boat, you could have just turned the episode off and you really wouldn't have missed much. All in all, it's fun to get the return of Campaign 2. I like that Critical Role is pumping out a bunch of different content, but it is a little frustrating when it feels like we're really getting into the swing of Campaign 3, but they constantly keep pulling us out of it. Regardless, I am excited to see how the return to Campaign 2 in the Uk'otoa arc wraps up, because the Uk'otoa arc, in my opinion, was one of the most interesting arcs of Campaign 2, and it had the most potentially devastating repercussions. Obviously, one of the downsides of knowing this is a 2-part special is we know that they most likely fight Uk'otoa and most likely defeat it, and just hopefully no one dies in the process. At the end of the day, I enjoy basically all the content Critical Role puts out, even if I do sometimes critique the hell out of it. Let me know your guys' thoughts and opinions of the return to Campaign 2 Part 1 in the comments down below. Were you excited? Were you super nostalgic? Was there anything that you were disappointed about? I want to hear it all. Like we said, I saw a decent amount of critiques on Reddit, but you're always going to see that on Reddit, especially the Critical Role Reddit, combined with a lot of nostalgia for the return of all these characters. Oh yeah, and this episode probably goes down as the most horny episode in Critical Role history. So there's that. As always, guys, if you enjoyed the video, learned something new, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Don't forget to hit that tiny bell so my videos go directly into your feed. As well, check out The Story of Uk'otoa video, everything we know about the Great Leviathan Uk'otoa in Critical Role. As always, guys, I hope to see you in the next one. Stay safe out there. Peace, love, adu.